anyone who attends our meetings or anyone who addresses the board during our meetings to feel that they can do so no matter who else is in attendance. That is the reason why we have asked in the past for our audience to refrain from clapping, cheering, or commenting while others give public comment, whether you are in support or against. We recognize that there are diverse beliefs and feelings across our stakeholders in the district, but one thing we do have in common is that we all want to do what is best for our children, and we are here today to work towards their future. With that being said, we are going to get started with our business meeting, and items are on our agenda, and we will start with roll call. Director Smith? Here. Director Zavala?
Here.
Director Decker?
Here.
And Director Sproul?
Here.
Perfect. And I am also here, obviously. The next item on our agenda is our superintendent report.
Thank you, Director Barros. Just want to check in before and make sure we're doing okay on the Zoom. And I saw the recording was paused, but it's back up. Okay, great. We're back in hybrid format again, obviously, and we want to make sure that everybody has access to the meeting. It's really important, I know, to the board. So I will go ahead and start with my report today and try to navigate everything and make sure. Good. So I have 4 topics that I want to talk about. The 4th, I'll actually turn over to Kathy Everidge with our Employee Excellence Award. But just things that have been on our mind as staff and in the community, some updates for the board and the community through this report. So the first is around keeping our schools safe. And obviously we've had another horrible tragedy in schools that has caught everyone's attention as we try to make sense of how these things can happen in our schools and what we can do about it. And so unfortunately, too, we've gone through these cycles over the last decades where we have a number of school shootings, and then there's one in particular that will grab everyone's attention at a different kind of level and really bring a heightened awareness to, I guess, the vulnerability really of our schools and what we can do to try to ensure safety for our students, for our staff, and the community as a whole. And so I wanted to make sure that we acknowledge the loss and the grief of the communities that have experienced this. Our own community has experienced a shooting at a school site, and it's horrible. And I know that every time these things happen, families go through all kinds of emotions about sending their students to school. Staff go through all kinds of emotions of trying to ensure that there's safety for our students every day and safety for themselves. And you as a board also try to weigh what we can do to try to help prevent these things from happening and then responding, unfortunately, when they do happen. The frustrating thing, there's a lot of frustrating things, but I wanted to share that some of the steps that we are taking as a district and acknowledge that we always learn and grow and we can always improve in what we're doing. And there's also a fine line of trying to ensure safety while not creating some sort of fortress around our students that don't allow them to play at recess and to enjoy what it's like to be a kid. And so there's some tension there that we try to work through. Some of the highlights that I wanted to call out today are around controlled entrances, cameras, fencing, gates, signage, our district resource officer staff, which are incredible, the safety protocols and training that all of our staff go through, and just trying to think about how do we build community, the effort that we have related to what it means to be a citizen in our schools and what does it mean to work together in our schools is a huge investment that we know is really important. We also have tried to embed on the website as a resource for families and staff and students, just some of these things and what we do and why we do them and what it looks like. And this winter, spring, the team put together a safety video that kind of anchors our practices, because sometimes parents will wonder, well, what does a lockdown look like at my school? And why would we do this or why wouldn't we do that? Unfortunately, we live in a world where it's almost daily that we have some sort of threat that comes in that we have to process as staff and determine how to respond accordingly. And I feel really good about the teams that we have in place to do this. They're extremely professional. They're very thoughtful. They care because they're in our community. It's our community that they're protecting and they're serving. The frustrating piece about this is all these things are on the backs of local taxpayers and our own staff. It feels like over and over, we're asked to do more, and we will step up and try to do more, but we could use some help. And my hope is that through these tragedies is that we'll get some help. And so when we look at a district resource officer team of 26 amazing individuals who put themselves on the line every single day, I think about 5 of those are funded from state funds. Everything else is funded through our local levies, which is awesome that we have a community that supports that. But we always have levy renewals, and that might not be something that's supported in the future. Or there are communities in our area even that have really struggled to pass a levy. And so what happens to those keeping school safe strategies that we try to do when it's dependent on those kinds of structures? So I know that I'm preaching to the choir here, but I feel like it's important for us to acknowledge that there's been great loss in our school communities, and staff are trying to respond every day to meet those needs, and they're tired. I think they would like to see some other supports and help come along the way. So I'll stop with that and go on to the next topic. I really wanted to pause. This is the last school board meeting of the 21-22 school year, my first year. And I'm really honored that the board would ask me to serve in this role. And it's been awesome. It's somebody asked me the other day if I enjoy my job. And I said, I do sometimes, but I think really what I do is I appreciate the responsibility and the opportunity that comes with this role. And I recognize how important it is to try to lead for our students in the community. And so I'm very grateful, and I wanted to share just a few highlights of the looking back where we're at today and looking ahead. So when you hired me, we talked about priorities for this school year, and we really tried to boil those down into something that was tangible that we could share. We shared these with the staff at the beginning of the year. We've shared them with staff throughout the year. I've updated you on these as well, but I think it's important to think back of where we started this year and how far we've come. And so number one was we had not had in-person full-time learning for quite some time. And so that was our number one focus coming into this school year. Maintain remote options for students, because we recognize families are at a different place, but we had to get ready and we had to balance a lot of mitigation strategies and changes and vaccination requirements of staff, masks on, masks not required, just a lot. And so thanks to our staff for doing that. Thanks for our students for being amazing with the protocols that were in place. And just being so helpful with it. Thanks to you as a board for giving us direction and staying the course around sometimes tumultuous navigation of what's required and isn't required. And you've been very consistent around making sure that we as a staff follow public health recommendations and that we check in on that. And all in all, I think that's been a huge success. Now, students have come to us in all different places, and that's the second aspect of we recognize that the 2 years have affected people very differently. And so our job was to meet students and families where they were at and help them grow from there. And that's been a priority again, and another appreciation for our staff to be able to deliver that. Our role is to support what happens in the classroom, what happens in our family community resource centers, what happens on the playground, what happens in our athletic fields. And so I appreciate your leadership in making that happen this year. The third priority was knowing that there's a leadership transition. Like, that's an opportunity for a system to look at things that they like and want to continue, and to look at opportunities for change. And so we convened a superintendent transition team to help with this process. Some of you in the room were a part of that team, and they established some goals. And at the committee of the whole meeting on the 21st, I'll present to you the final report from this third point. And then the fourth point was to work towards student equity. The board recognized that not all students were benefiting in the same way from the systems that we have created. And so you have asked us to develop an equity policy. Janelle and Marilee were leaders in bringing that policy along for an adoption in February. Now another level of work begins, right? Because we've talked about what we want to do and what we want to accomplish, and then how is going to play out over the next couple of years. So a lot of great work, right? Thank you. Thanks everyone for participating in that. So now to the today, like graduations, right? If you've ever had an opportunity to be at a graduation, whether it's preschool to kindergarten, elementary to middle to high, I'm kind of partial to that high school graduation. And if you've ever been close enough to see the students lining up right before their name is called, it is a precious moment. There's this nervousness on them. They don't know how to handle. I mean, they're 17, right? Like, and they're just trying to, and then their name gets called and they stand up, they get a sense, and then they walk across that stage. And that's the culmination of preschool to 12th grade, sometimes preschool to beyond 12th grade, of every staff member in our district, from the bus driver to the kitchen manager to the classroom teacher to the safety and athletics guy. Everybody has affected those students. And I think sometimes we don't get a chance to see the amazingness of that. And I know you all are going to be at as many graduations as you can. I'm going to be at as many as I can. It's a really special time for us. And we're going to also share with you and with the community some of the senior exit interviews where we sat down and talked with seniors about their experience and tried to learn from their wisdom. With every time I ask a student, sit down with them, they are so humble in what they share and what they offer us. And so we're really grateful for the moment. We want to celebrate that. I also wanted to just acknowledge that each of us have experienced the last couple 2 years uniquely. And each of us has experienced this school year uniquely. And so when I talk about all those things that we should celebrate, there's also huge opportunities for growth in all of those. And often when we come together at a board meeting, in particular the last couple of years, we hear frustrations from people from all aspects of wherever their perspective is and whatever their experience is. They feel like there's opportunities for us to do better. And sometimes that's hard. It's been really hard the last couple of years because we're here to try to serve these faces. And their stories are so unique, and we love them and we want the best for them. And sometimes it's felt like we haven't been able to deliver in the way that we want. And sometimes it feels like the perspectives are very different that we're hearing, that one person wants this and the other person wants almost the exact. And you as a board have to filter through that to make a decision on behalf of the community. And so I want to acknowledge how challenging that is. And we as a staff are trying to empower you with the information to make good decisions. And here we are in June after a long cycle of board meetings with a lot of concerns and a lot of opportunities. And so we are excited to head to next year. And so one of the things that we had talked about during the course of the year with the adoption of the equity policy is that we really wanted it to be a roadmap for how we move forward collectively. And so when we look at the aspects of the equity policy, when it talks about student learning, when it talks about culture and climate and professional staff and resources, we want to get better collectively by using that and looking at the information that's helping us see if we're improving. And so we have kind of a theory of action related to this that is formed over the course of the year. And it's if that we use that as a guide, and we bring people together, all of our stakeholders together around that, then we will collectively grow in the way that we can support students in the classroom and beyond the classrooms. And when we grow in that way, then our students are going to be positively impacted. And so as we look at the year ahead, there's really two strands that we're going to concentrate on, and everything will kind of funnel into that. The first is around student equity and inclusionary practices, and that's really the culture of belonging, high access, and benefit. Right? We want every kid to have those opportunities. We acknowledge that we have not done as great a job as we can, and we want to do better. The professional learning community structure is one that we just had a full day today. Our team was working on, and that is a process for us to come collaboratively together and to grow together. And the areas that we can grow in are planning, instruction, curriculum, assessment, all those things, intervention, support, enrichment. So that falls under that umbrella. Sometimes it feels like we have so many initiatives going on that a staff member can't, like, what are we working on and why? This is what we're working on, right? We're working on the experience of students, and we're working on the learning experience of students as we move forward. And it's not just unique to the student equity and the policy, that policy and procedures, but you as a board drive this arrow by the policies you adopt, by the things that you want us to pay attention to, by the feedback you give. And so I'm super excited about next year. I'm hoping that this isn't a huge part of my agenda next year, because we've spent a lot of time on pandemic management, planning and response, and we continue to do that. We actually this week saw a little dip again for the first time because we were spiking in our case rates and some of the other indicators. Right now, the Department of Health has said that there are no updates in the near future, that it's kind of stay the course, but they have pledged. They have acknowledged how difficult it is for school systems if they are to tell us the week before school to implement all these practices and procedures. And so they've acknowledged that. I know that they don't ever want to wait. Sometimes they're waiting on things too to come out with that guidance, but we're looking forward to if there are any updates, and we have a great team that manages it. And again, staff that have been amazing and students that have been amazing in following it. So that is my superintendent report for tonight, the last one of the 21-22 school year. And I'll stop and see if there are any questions or comments, and then turn it over to Kathy.
All right, so now next on the agenda, we have our Employee Excellence Awards, and we have Kathy Everidge who will be presenting.
Great. Thank you, board, Dr. Snell. So it's that time of year again to recognize our June 2022 Employee Excellence Award recipients. The following employees were selected by a committee of their peers for commitment to the students and staff of Vancouver Public Schools. This month's recipients were among the many outstanding nominees who create a caring environment and positive workplace through their exceptional efforts. For information about each recipient, or if you would like to submit a nomination, please visit the district's website at vansd.org. First up tonight, our recipient that we are honoring is Dimitri Bayou, who was hired January 2016, custodian at Geyser Middle School. Serving approximately 800 students and 70 staff members, Geyser Middle School brims with activity. Dimitri is equal to the task of caring for the large school, even throughout the pandemic. When he arrives at work, he picks up litter from the playground and outside areas. Throughout the day, he ensures that the school is sanitized and that all systems are running smoothly. If something needs to be fixed or cleaned, Dimitri takes care of it before anyone needs to submit a request. He is reliable, responsible, and a pleasure to work with. Congratulations to Dimitri. Next, we'd like to recognize Devin Cast, hired September 2004, teacher, Philida Elementary. Devin is a celebrity around the school, and he inspires others. He makes his PE classes inclusive for all abilities and all age levels. With Devin's leadership, Philida students set the 2022 Washington State record for the American Heart Association Kids Challenge and learned about cardiovascular health and wellness in the process. He also organizes the school's mileage club, where students run laps during recess to earn tokens and compete against other classrooms. He is a joy to work with and brings a real understanding of kids to his work. Congratulations to Devin. Next is Tina Cruz, hired August 2019, Family Community Resource Center Coordinator. She serves Salmon Creek and Franklin Elementary Schools, Columbia River High School, Vancouver School of Arts and Academics, Vancouver iTech Preparatory, and Vancouver Flex Academy. Tina makes supporting a half dozen schools look easy, but as with most complex endeavors, the outcomes of Tina's work are the result of her considerable knowledge, skills, and effort. Countless times she has supported families through crises by developing action plans and gathering resources. Tina literally and figuratively meets families wherever they are. She always takes the time to make people feel valued and heard. In addition to supporting families, she is a mentor to her colleagues. They say that they are proud to work alongside her. Congratulations to Tina. Next is Sunny Moxley, hired August 1999, teacher, Walnut Grove Elementary. One of Sunny's many talents is meeting the needs of each student with their unique learning ability, emotional needs, and communication style. Working with each child brings opportunities to teach and guide, said one parent. My son always tells me how good she is as a human being and as a teacher, and I can see my son learning. These connections also extend to parents and guardians with whom Sunny has proven to be empathetic, kind, and supportive. Her commitment to her students and their families make everyone feel included. Congratulations to Sunny. And finally, Ann Smith, hired September 2017, paraeducator, Philida Elementary. Respect is one of Ann's core values, and it drives the work that she does to support students of all abilities. She also excels at following lesson plans, recording and reporting data, and working with her colleagues. Ann is organized, an independent worker, and someone who finds solutions to complex challenges. In addition, Ann's prior experience working in Alki Middle School gives her a profound understanding of the significance of the elementary to middle school transition and makes her an ideal advocate for students. On behalf of the board of directors and our district employees, congratulations to all of our June Employee Excellence Award recipients. Nice job.
Thank you, Kathy. It is always wonderful to recognize our employees. We do have, as a board, we want to recognize a couple employees and the service and commitment that they've given to us as a board. And the first is Aaron Bierschmidt. He is the executive assistant to the superintendent and board. And he is going to be leaving us. And so we are just appreciative of all of the assistance that you give us, I think, on a daily basis, keeping us on track. Kathy Everidge is retiring. She is the executive director of HR, assistant superintendent. You served us as our interim superintendent before Dr. Snell came on. And so we're thankful for you stepping into that role. And then Tom Hagley is our executive director of communications and partnerships. And we are extremely grateful for all of the help that you give us with communicating to our community, communicating to the schools. And for all of you, we are going to miss you and we wish you well on your future endeavors and everything that you will enjoy. So thank you so much for everything you do. All right, moving on to the agenda. The next part of our agenda is our audience participation. And so this is where we have time for different community members to give public comment. So citizen comments is the time in our meeting where the board and administrative staff like to hear comments from the public. If you wish to address the board and did not have an opportunity to sign in, for those of you who are in person, at the start of the meeting, please do so now. We do also have some people who have signed up to give public comment over Zoom. Because most matters require fact-finding and review, the board is not able to respond to any public comments made at this time. Additionally, the state's Open Public Meetings Act restricts deliberations on topics that have not been publicly placed on the publicly noticed agenda in advance. If follow-up action is necessary, the board will ask the superintendent to work with staff to consider the information and respond accordingly. As a regular business meeting of the board, we do expect the audience to conduct themselves professionally and courteously. Additionally, speakers are expected to be respectful. The board asks that personnel complaints be submitted in writing. Disruptive conduct may cause the meeting to be adjourned and audience members to be removed. We ask that you approach the podium, for those of you guys who are in person, and state your name for the record, and please also state your affiliation for the district. For those of you guys who are on Zoom, you will be promoted to panelist, and then you can unmute yourself and state your name and affiliation. You will have 3 minutes to make your comments. If you hear a chime, please conclude your remarks. If you have materials or additional comments that you would like the board to review, please hand them to staff in the back of the boardroom. This information will be provided to the superintendent and board. The board appreciates, listens, and cares about the broad range of perspectives in our community, and we thank you for your comments. We are going to first start with our community members who have signed up to give comments over Zoom. So they are attending virtually. The first person on the list is Monica Zazueta. All right, Monica, it looks like you've been promoted. So if you want to unmute yourself,
Cool. I
you
thought I
can
was.
turn on your camera if you would like.
Hi,
And
everyone.
then say your name and, oh, but let's make sure we have audio first. Can you say something?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Okay, don't think we have audio yet. So just hold on 1 second.
Okay. Hello.
Thank you for your patience. We can't hear you. We can see you. We are waiting to get the audio going in the boardroom so that we can hear you.
Okay. I'll just keep on trying to talk though. If you can hear me, I unmuted myself.
Hold on 1 second. Thank you for your patience. Okay, can you try again? Can you speak?
Yeah. Can you hear
Oh,
me now?
perfect.
Okay,
Yay,
good.
yes, we can hear you. So Monica, if you could state your name and affiliation with the district, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Monica Zazueta. I am a concerned mama. I have a 7-year-old boy named Aries, and I'm 7 months pregnant right now with our second boy, Rufio. I am here to speak on behalf of trying to get away from fossil fuels. I am an environmental activist. I am involved in many different groups, Sunrise, Beyond Fossil Fuels Task Force, Alliance for Community Engagement, Save Vancouver Trees. I'm just here to advocate for a greener tomorrow so our kiddos can have a future to live on and to thrive on. And so I'm going to read a little bit from Don's email, Don Steinke, that he wrote on some things that we could do to try to go towards that greener way. So one is to determine which space and water heating systems are the oldest and replace them with electric heat pumps as soon as possible. 2, determine which vehicles are the oldest and replace them with battery electric vehicles. Spend more staff time planning for charging infrastructure than on choosing your vehicles. 3, replace the equipment used for grounds maintenance with battery electric as soon as possible. 4, make your facilities bicycle friendly, encourage bicycle use for some students. 5, add heat pump technology to your curriculum at Cascadia Tech. We need more workforce training for heat pump installers than for diesel mechanics. And it also says nothing will happen until you start the conversation among yourselves. Schedule a workshop on this and make it a future agenda item. The Portland School Board took this action about 6 months ago. And so I really just am here to advocate for a better tomorrow. I would encourage everyone to see this documentary on Netflix called Breaking Boundaries. It's about Earth's tipping points. And I just encourage everyone to really take a look at our footprints and what we're really leaving for our kiddos. And so I thank you all for everything that you do. I just know that there's a different way and there's a more healthier way for them to have a thriving future. So I thank everyone so much. And I send you good vibes and big hugs. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Next on the list, we have Bailey Cunningham. Don't know that I see a Bailey Cunningham. If you did sign up for Zoom comments, if you could make sure that your screen name is the name that you signed up with, just to help us. I will move on and we will come back to see if Bailey joins us later. Next, we have Bella Williams. I do not see a Bella Williams either. So we will move on. Next is Tyler Smith. I do not see a Tyler. Okay. Jamie Anderson. All right, Jamie, it looks like you have been promoted. So, oh, there
I am. Hi.
you can say your name and affiliation with the district, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jamie Anderson. I am currently a second grade teacher at Lincoln Elementary. I'm also a VPS parent and a union leader. And I want to talk to you about student safety and behavior in our classrooms. I know that Dr. Snell spoke a lot about it at the beginning of the meeting. And I understand that there are limitations to what the district can provide based on available funding, but something has to be done. We all know that our students have been experiencing trauma. We all know that they've been experiencing at levels we haven't seen before. We're also allowing behaviors to happen in the classroom that's creating trauma for students who wouldn't otherwise experience trauma. We're increasing trauma for students who are experiencing trauma at home. I have a daughter, she is in kindergarten, and she is the absolute light of my life. And she has been hit multiple times this year by a classmate who has been escalated. She's poking in right there. And oftentimes the student is either returned to her class without a consequence, or they are returned to class. Actually, they haven't been removed from class because nobody's available to remove them from class. We have students who are assaulting teachers as young as kindergarten. I have teachers asking me if they should be concerned about any sort of repercussion because they had to pry a kindergartner's hands from their throats. I watched one of my friends be wheeled out on a stretcher right before spring break because she was hit on the back of the head by a student quite violently, and she suffered a concussion. This isn't a failure of our admin. I want to say that right off the bat. It's not a failure of our teachers. It's a failure of the system that has been put into place and it needs to change. We have students who threaten their classmates with scissors and they are returned to their class without a consequence. We've had students who are bit by other students and blood is drawn, and there's often not very much consequence to that behavior. We have our classrooms destroyed, and then they're talked to and returned to class. We're often asked to evaluate what we are doing as teachers. What did we do to trigger the behavior? What are we going to do to support the student? And more than anything, I think it's a pattern of inaction by the district. It's a pattern of no consequence. And I understand that there are some mitigating circumstances to the district and behavior. Please stop. Thank you. But schools need to be safe. Schools need to be safe for everyone, no matter what their role is. Educators are leaving the classroom, and we often choose this profession out of our passion for what we do. And they're leaving because they don't know what aggressions they're going to face. It's exhausting. It's leading to teacher burnout, and no classroom management program in a teaching program is going to prepare us for what we're seeing these days. I attended VPS schools, kindergarten through.
Sorry, the chime went off. That was the end of
Oh.
your.
Oh, I'm
3 minutes.
sorry. I didn't hear a timer.
Oh, no, that's okay. Sorry, I
Okay.
didn't.
Okay. No, that's okay.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Jamie.
Thank you.
Next on the list, we have Adina Stinchfield. I don't see Adina. I'm going to move on. Next, we have Mindy Chumbley. Hi, Mindy. You can give your name and affiliation with the district, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name's Mindy Chumbley. I am a parent. I have a 3rd grader in the highly capable program at Eisenhower and a 10th grader at VSAA. And I'm back again. Partly this month, I wanted to just touch base about the highly capable program because we did receive our public records request, and much of our concerns was confirmed by the information that we received. I am planning on sending the full results of the parent survey that went out because I think that you'll see very clearly the dichotomy between the parent responses for students who were in the self-contained class and the parents of identified students outside the self-contained class. And there's just no confidence whatsoever that anything happens inside a general ed class that meets the needs of highly capable students. I was listening to the speaker right before me and my heart was breaking. There are so many broken things right now, but to pretend that putting more work and asking teachers who are dealing with the kinds of things that she was talking about to also somehow differentiate for high cap students seems not realistic. And so we would ask that the school board please ask the district to involve parents in meaningful stakeholder work, not just surveys, but meaningful stakeholder work. We were disheartened to hear that Truman's fourth graders will no longer have high cap as a self-contained model this year. And so that just brings more questions about why we're dismantling a successful program. I loved what Superintendent Snell said earlier about the culture of belonging and high access and benefit being what we need in equity. And I would say that those are all things found in that self-contained model, and that the equity concerns of transportation and communication and identification for all high cap students can be solved, but that getting rid of this successful program is not the way to solve it. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mindy. Next on the list, we have Tanner Noland. I think he had let us know he was going to be emailing instead. So then next we have Paige Todd. All right, Paige, it looks like you have been promoted. Oh, there you are. Welcome. If you can state your name and affiliation with the district, you will have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Barrows. Thank you to the board and the superintendent for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Paige Todd. I'm the executive director for the Vancouver Education Association. We represent the certificated staff at Vancouver Public Schools. Today is the 2-week anniversary of the tragic deaths that occurred, as you know, in Uvalde, Texas. This is preventable in many ways, and we can work together. Educators are the front line who work with your students every day. They work with our community members, with our parents. They need to have sincere collaboration. As Ms. Chumbley stated, meaningful stakeholder work, not just a survey, not just input and thank you. In the last 2 weeks, 2 students have brought guns to Clark County high schools, one of which was Skyview, and that student had a semi-automatic handgun with rounds in the magazine. Is this school safety? No. The association is imploring the board and the superintendent to increase mental health supports and collaborate with frontline educators to create transparent, concrete, and uniform school safety and student discipline protocols. Lack of student safety and protocols impacts student learning. It impacts the educator's ability to provide instruction. When a student who witnesses a teacher's head slammed by a door due to a student, or student altercations, and those same students are brought into the classroom, it's hard as a student to focus on learning. If you know as a student that your door can't lock from the inside, you can't focus on learning. 33%, 1/3 of the Columbia River High School doors cannot be locked from the inside. Is this an anomaly? No. This spring, the association learned that VPS schools, there are 5 VPS schools that are 5 years or newer, such as King, Truman, and Walnut Grove, also may not have classroom interior door locks. Republished after the unfortunate Uvalde shooting, the Sandy Hook Advisory Committee opined, in both Sandy Hook and Parkland, teachers had to step outside of their classrooms while the shooting was underway in order to lock their doors. This exposed the educators and students to danger. Doors that were left unlocked were unsecured and left them vulnerable. Interior locks can mean the difference between life and death. The association has a petition that we will share with the board and the superintendent after this meeting. One petitioner, a retired VPS teacher, states, "It's a shame that this conversation was started 30 years ago and continues today. The safety of our children and grandkids and everyone else's children does not come with a price tag. Door locks and emergency equipment and extra counselors should be what is required. Listen to the staff and parents, please, and implement their needs."
That's time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. Next up, we have Caitlin Claflin. Perfect. There you are, Caitlin. If you want to state your name and affiliation with the district, you will have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Caitlin Claflin, and I am a concerned community member. It has come to my attention that Fort Vancouver High School has requested a multi-stall gender-neutral bathroom, and I believe this needs to be addressed as soon as possible. Sometimes, and it's not just LGBT people, but the majority of them are LGBT, people don't feel comfortable using a bathroom that has been assigned to a gender. And I believe we need to do this for the safety and health of the students at Fort Vancouver. Holding it is not a good thing. It can create multiple health problems, and especially when people get older, and I don't believe that this is what we want for our students. People who are trans or LGBT have a lot to worry about, and going to the bathroom shouldn't be another one of those things. This is something that is very important, and I believe this is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Next up, we have William Bauer. Hey, William.
Hello.
When you're ready, state your name and affiliation with the district, and you will have 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is William Bauer. I'm a teacher at Heights campus. Starting November 1st of this school year, I taught high school biology and was an advisor for the Virtual Learning Academy students. I left a continuing contract in Battleground Public Schools to take on this position. In a few weeks, I will be starting a new job coordinating and leading professional development for secondary science teachers across Washington State. My new job as the Open SciEd project manager teacher leader is supported by a $2 million OSPI ESSER grant. While I will definitely miss directly teaching students next year after 15 years in the classroom, I can't wait to start my new role supporting fellow science teachers. As I reflect on my year with Vancouver Public Schools, I wanted to speak to the board to express my appreciation for how VPS has invested in my professional development. Before working at VPS, I had never used a Canvas learning management system. Kelsey Askey, my technology coach, helped me build my first Canvas page and was helpful all year long navigating the multitude of educational technology applications. I'd also like to thank Amanda Riker from the communications department who visited my classroom and wrote a story about my students' experience learning about cancer as part of the Open SciEd high school biology curriculum. At the building level, my instructional coach at Heights, Courtney McEwen, visited my classroom to help track and annotate student participation during a full class discussion. Her feedback and positivity were a great support to me. I'd also like to express my appreciation for my professional development funds that I gained access to as a VPS employee. They were far more generous than at my previous district and allowed me to subsidize my renewal for national board certification, pay for membership to the National Science Teachers Association, and travel to some regional conferences. While I am leaving the district to take on this new statewide role, I will still maintain a connection with VPS through my son, who's starting kindergarten this fall in the dual language Spanish program at Roosevelt Elementary. My wife and son attended an orientation a few weeks ago and are eager to begin. My son liked all the student artwork on the walls. He is needing new gallery space as his work has filled our refrigerator and hallways at home. When I came home, my son had already started working on his scissor skills with the packet of activities he was given at the orientation. His only critique was that he didn't get enough time on the playground. My wife was impressed with the level of immersion in Spanish our son will receive as part of this program. We're so excited for him to begin next fall. Thank you for a wonderful school year and have a great summer.
Thank you, William. Next up, we have Beth Hornback.
Good evening. I'm sorry, I can't turn on my video.
Oh, that's okay. We can hear you though.
Okay. My name is Beth Hornback. I am a parent of a first grader and third grader at Eisenhower Elementary. I'm PTA Council President for the PTA Council. And I'm one of 3 speakers, at least a minimum of 3 speakers tonight about the Highly Capable program. And I know that we continue to speak up at meetings, and I just want to start off by saying that we're really grateful for the opportunity to have a voice in this process, and that is simply our request to be continued to be involved as meaningful stakeholders, as my colleague Mindy mentioned earlier, in the process for any program changes considered next year and beyond. As a group of concerned parents, we came before the board in April when the program changes were being discussed and submitted a combined statement about our concerns about the changes and our request to create a work team that is comprised of district staff, teachers, and parents, not just of the self-contained students, but of all identified highly capable students, a meaningful work group that can evaluate the challenges and opportunities before the highly capable program team, and so that this program can be offered in a way that meets these students' individual unique needs. And we followed up with a second combined statement in May as well. And so far, we haven't been invited as parents to be included in any sort of work group. And we do really feel strongly that even though this is the first time that program changes for the highly capable program have really been discussed outside of the district, this is an opportunity to get feedback directly, and not just feedback, but involvement from all the stakeholders involved in a way that can actually make meaningful program changes that are not done with more of a standardized communication. And I also recognize that the highly capable identified students represent a small percentage of the overall student body. But listening to Jamie Anderson speak earlier and kind of knowing the general concerns about behavior in the general ed classrooms, I do feel strongly a high concern for a cluster model being effective for highly capable until we know that these behavioral problems are being addressed. To ask teachers to increase differentiation for such a range of students and to be effective across the board does not seem equitable to me. But I do feel strongly that there are opportunities to address that in a way that can be more equitable, and that doesn't put all of the responsibility solely on teachers. And as a parent group, we are formally creating a group to advocate on behalf of highly capable students. And we simply just would like to continue to have the opportunity to speak up for our students, and also to truly be involved and not just be spoken to at a town hall or via a survey, but actually have a core group of parents and teachers that can join with the district to evaluate these program changes. So I urge the board to advocate on behalf of us as parents. Oh, can you not hear me?
Oh, no, we can. It was time a while ago.
Oh, I didn't hear that. The announcement didn't come up. I'm so sorry. I didn't hear it.
Okay, no worries. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Beth. Next on the list, we have Rolf Velik. Right, Rolf, it looks like you've been promoted. You can unmute yourself and there you
Okay.
go.
All right. Thank you.
State your name and affiliation with the district. You'll have 3 minutes.
Yeah, my name is Rolf Velik, and I'm a parent of a junior at Hudson Bay. Thanks for allowing me to address the board. I've addressed this about 2.5 years ago, and I even had a private meeting with some district reps. I've done a bit of research, and a lot of the content and facts I won't be able to convey in 3 minutes, so I'm going to read fast. To drive the point home right away, I'm just revisiting this because my son is consistently falling asleep in the late afternoon for upward of 2 hours due to lack of rest, though he does actually go to bed at a good time. And I can't think of any more direct symptom of a problem to express than that. And so there's a couple of matters, as the unreasonably early start time of the high schools. we wouldn't consider having our kids at school at 7:30 p.m. And I think the same applies at 7:30 a.m. should be out of the question. And then on top of that, bus pickup times are really not acceptable. I mean, and particularly in light of the fact that a lot of kids are arriving at the school up to 40 minutes early. Studies have shown in the last 20 years that teenagers, during puberty, they change and they need even more rest than they did as younger children. And so therefore their educational path, when it really counts, when grades count, transcripts, pursuit of college counts, they're actually being put in a tough spot and not set up for success. So I've learned that about some of the nuanced matters that are faced by a school district, logistics, et cetera. I'm not going to go into all of that, but a couple things I wanted to touch on is that some students are part of magnet programs, and that's requiring them to arrive earlier and then being bused again. So a lot of students have to be there even earlier for that reason. And then, sets of students are, needing to be released earlier for sports activities. That impacts the ability to have school start and end later. So these, scenarios, unfortunately, are clear examples of the entirety of the student population having to be beholden to and adversely affected for the needs of select groups. So a lot of the students like mine are not involved in those programs, and they're kind of being penalized with the current structure. Now on the back end, we have a disconnect. We don't have as much time with our kids. I don't even see my son in the morning because he's gone before I'm even up, and he's off to bed 2 hours earlier in the evening. There's decreased ridership. A lot of parents are driving their kids to school. That just compounds to environmental problems, traffic problems. You've got more inexperienced riders driving to school because the teens, once they get a car, are driving because they want to avoid having to have another 30 minutes of trying to deal with the bus and all that stuff because they're being picked up so early. So some potential solutions are, going ahead and just adjusting the time that the teenagers, that the high school students start. And that was actually done in other districts like Mountain View, Vancouver School District. And then also that was actually done in Dr. Snell's former district. Variable start times like for period 1, having some flexibility with period 1, having late starts and not early releases, because on those days they can actually sleep a little longer. Transportation funding priority. Bottom line, we just need to make an honest assessment of what's an acceptable range or boundary for start times and bus pickup times for student. And no student should be required to start school much earlier than 8 a.m. or to be on a bus much earlier than 7 a.m. Then working within those acceptable boundary timeframes, evaluate root causes, solve the root problem, and not have scheduling compromises.
Mr. Velick, that was
Thanks.
time. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right. I do not see any of the others that we had skipped over. Bailey or Bella. Let me double check real quick. Bella, Tyler. So we are going to move on to our in-person citizen comments. We have one speaker signed up tonight, and that is Jessica Cole. To the podium. You can go to the podium. And when you're ready, I feel like I should tell you to unmute yourself. When you're ready, you can state your name, affiliation with the district, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, hello, board and superintendent. My name is Jessica Cole. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the president of PFLAG Southwest Washington, and that serves all of Clark County. Mr. Bauer taught my kids in a different district, and you are missing out on someone special. But congratulations to him. I was contacted because the Fort Vancouver High School students have been frustrated about trying to get a multi-stall gender neutral bathroom. It seems like there has been some miscommunication or maybe complete, lack of communication at all. So prioritizing clear communication will probably help this situation go along well. Using a bathroom is something that people have to do every day. Using a gender bathroom is a simple thing for a cisgendered person. So I was assigned female at birth and I identify as female. So it's a simple thing for a cisgender person for me to do. I never have to think about which bathroom I'll use. Multi-stall bathrooms are affirming of identities of trans and non-binary students. Not having multi-stall bathrooms is a barrier to equitable and accessible education and isn't prioritizing trans and non-binary students. Having to use single-stall bathrooms can be isolating, and it's a lack of inclusivity. GLSEN research shows that 2/3 of transgender students avoid school bathrooms due to feeling unsafe or uncomfortable. I'm the parent of 2 trans kids, and we were in a different district. And that's when I found out different needs for them than I needed when I was growing up. And Mr. Bauer was a great help for us along the way. So the education system wasn't set up for them, you know, and I heard you talk about learning and changing and growing. So the bathroom at my house is a gender neutral bathroom. I don't ask all the folks in my house what gender they are. I'm gonna say, please give them a multi-stall by this fall. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica. And that is the end of our public comment time. Thank you to everybody virtually and here in person who have addressed the board. Next, we are going to move into more of our action items for our agenda. The first thing that we have is approval of minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, so we will move towards a vote. Director Smith?
Approve.
Director Zavala?
Approve, sorry.
Director Decker?
Approve.
And Director Sproul?
Approve.
And I also vote to approve. The motion passes. Next, we have consent agenda. This includes consent agenda for instructional and administrative support services. And usually we have fiscal services on there as well. And fiscal services. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion. Sorry, too loud.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, we will move towards the vote. Director Smith?
Approve.
Director Zavala?
Approve.
Director Decker?
Approve.
And Director Sproul?
Approve.
And I also vote to approve. The motion passes. Now we have regular business items. The first item that we have for regular business is a recommendation to approve a purchase agreement for field reconditioning at Skyview High School.
Just a bit of background on this. I know that the board has been interested in this as a potential solution. Skyview's baseball field has been unplayable for the last several years, and the team has come up with an option for your consideration. There is some energy in the community around turfing the field, and I know staff met with some community members that were advocating on that behalf. And historically, the district has used bonds to do those kinds of infrastructure implementation. The most recent bond was refurbishing Kiggins Bowl, Discovery Track, and there's been kind of a step-by-step, looking at the facilities and where are there opportunities to improve. And so staff is recommending that we do this reconditioning, and we would like that field to be as playable as other natural fields are in the area, and also recognize that the board may support a long-term solution that's related to turfing, not just Skyview, but other fields in the community as we move forward. So Brett is available to answer any questions. I know Brett attended the parent meeting, as did Director Sproul. So just to tee that up for everyone and see if there are any questions.
Okay, do we need to make a motion? We need to make a motion first before, yes. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, now any discussion?
So I'm just a little confused. Did you say that the parents had another solution? Did they have a worked out solution, or were they just?
I think that there was discussion about a lot of different possibilities.
actual
I
plan?
think the general feel, and of course, this is from a group of individuals, is to turf the fields would be a long-term solution. And then also looking at some other facilities like a field house or smaller kind of area for cages for softball and baseball, something of that nature. We do have teams that have to travel away from their home school for facility practices and things like that. But we would like to have fields that are accessible and playable on the campus if possible. So
What, do you mind?
No, go ahead.
I know we've talked about this among ourselves, but I just wanted for public record, the amount of money that it would cost to turf that field. Do we have that?
We have a estimate from engineers for both the JV and the varsity field, and it's just north of $2.3 million.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm just gonna first thank you, Dr. Snell, for the introduction. And I also want to extend thank you to Brett and AJ. They've been very patient with me because it's taken me a while to get my head around this specific contract. And I'm gonna ask for your patience just for a couple minutes. Because of my own personal affiliations in the community, I've heard mountains of feedback around Skyview baseball field. And I have joked recently that I wouldn't mind if I never hear Skyview baseball again. Go Storm. No slight there. I think that for me, I have struggled with this solution because it's a short-term Band-Aid on a long-term fix. And in addition, I do worry about the return on the investment because we did just experience such a rainy spring. If we face that again next year and we are once again in an unplayable situation, it makes me nervous to spend this amount of money. I think that I have been able to overcome my fiscal concerns because I try to focus my work on what's in the best interest of students. And what has bubbled up to me in all of the feedback that we have received and the parent meeting that has come out is that the lack of a playable field at Skyview for not just varsity, but also JV and their freshman team has left students commuting down to Hudson's Bay in the evening. They use the facilities after Hudson's Bay, so they're oftentimes not getting home until 9 p.m. at night. And they're providing their own transportation. As a mother, I don't want my kids driving on I-5 on a daily basis. So I think that this really draws attention to me of just what is in our students' best interest, health, wellness, safety. It's probably not even environmentally efficient to have so many students commuting. So I'm comfortable giving this a go. My ask is, because this has gone on so long, is there a way that we can come up with a plan B for next year should weather not cooperate? How do we as a district support so it's not just on a team or on a coach and parents? One thing that I think gets overlooked is as we look at equity and student need in our district and we think of North End versus South End, Skyview has 28% free and reduced lunch. And in a size like, I think 1,700 students, that's 487 students. There is so much value to student sports, whether you are a varsity baseball player or you are on the C team, the freshman team. It is an opportunity to provide connection to that school. And I have serious concerns about sending kids off campus to participate in sports when it cannot be inclusive of anyone and everyone that might be interested. So whether this is the right solution in the short term, I don't know. I think Mother Nature will tell us next spring. And I do hope that there can be collaboration with the parents and our community, and we can get something on a future bond to create a better long-term solution. My big ask is that we lessen the burden on our students that do want to participate in baseball at Skyview.
Thank you. Any other discussion or thoughts? All right, well, we will move to a vote. Director Smith?
Approve.
Director Zavala?
Approve.
Director Decker?
Approve.
And Director Sproul.
Approve.
And I also approve. The motion passes. Next on the agenda, we have Board of Directors report. Anything to report? I was just going to talk about our graduations, which I know we're all very excited about. I know Dr. Snell posted that kind of the list of all the graduations. We will be dividing our time this week and early next week amongst all of the celebrating students and families. I think we're all really excited for, I think 4 out of the 5 of us, we have not attended in-person graduations as board members. So we are very excited to kind of add that to our experience. Yeah. Anything else?
I'm just excited to be looking at you face to face. So it's nice to be back in person.
Yes. Anything else?
I just want to take a few seconds. We acknowledge some incredibly valuable employees who are leaving us at the end of the year, but I also want to just take a few minutes or a few seconds, excuse me, to acknowledge all of the incredibly hard work for all of our staff across the district this year. It's been another very challenging year and everyone's been working really, really hard and we're exhausted. But anyway, I just wanted, since it's our June meeting, to just take a few seconds to acknowledge everybody's hard work this year.
Yes, thank you. With that, we as a board are going to recess to an executive session. The purpose is personnel to discuss the performance of a public employee. There will be no action to follow. I anticipate we will be in executive session for 1 hour. And as I mentioned, no action to follow, so we will come back just to adjourn. Thank you all for attending. All right, we are back from our executive session. It is 8:04 p.m. and our meeting is adjourned. Thank you, guys.